The emergency beacon screamed across the galaxy, its distress signal cutting through the cosmic silence like a knife through fabric. On the bridge of the HFY research station, Commander Zeftos watched the holographic display with growing desperation. Red warning lights bathed his blue-scaled face in an ominous glow. "How long until the Vrextai arrive?" he asked, his voice tight with fear. Lieutenant Miralos checked her console, her 6 arms working frantically across multiple interfaces. 18 hours, Commander. Maybe less." Zeftos closed his eyes. The Vrextai were monsters from the void, creatures that consumed entire civilizations for sport. His people, the peaceful Kethnon, had discovered something they shouldn't have, an ancient artifact that the Vrextai considered sacred. Now they were coming to reclaim it, and they would leave nothing alive in their wake. "Any response to our distress signal?" he asked. "Yes, sir. We have 3 confirmations." Miralos paused, her mandibles clicking nervously. "The Zenthak fleet says they cannot reach us in time. The Mordoon Empire offers their condolences but will not risk war with the Vrextai." Zeftos felt his heart sink. "And the 3rd response?" "Unknown species, sir. They call themselves humans. They say they're 17 hours away and willing to help." "Humans?" Zeftos had never heard of them. "What do we know about this species?" Miralos quickly accessed the galactic database. Her expression grew puzzled. "Very little, Commander. They only made contact with the galactic community 6 months ago. Their planet of origin is listed as Earth." "Earth," Zeftos repeated. "What's their classification?" Miralos went silent for a moment, her eyes widening. "Sir, according to this, their homeworld is classified as a Class 12 death world." The bridge fell silent except for the humming of machinery. Class 12 was the highest danger rating possible. No known intelligent species had ever evolved on anything above Class 8. "That must be a mistake," Zeftos whispered. "I'm running the scan again, sir." Miralos worked furiously. "No, sir. The classification is correct. Earth scores maximum points in every danger category. Extreme gravity, violent weather systems, aggressive predator species, toxic atmosphere components, seismic instability, and..." She paused. "The highest recorded biological diversity of dangerous organisms. Science Officer Dexmore, a thin, pale creature from the peaceful Velnari homeworld, looked up from his station. "Commander, that's impossible. No sentient species could evolve under such conditions. The stress alone would prevent the development of higher brain functions." "The database says they're real," Miralos replied. "They've registered 17 ships in the Galactic Fleet Registry. All of them are marked as military vessels." Zeftos felt a chill run down his spine. Most civilized species had moved beyond the need for military forces centuries ago. Only the most violent races maintained standing armies. "What else do we know about them?" he asked. Dexmore pulled up additional files. "Their first contact report is fascinating, sir. The Galactic Council's initial survey team described them as remarkably adaptable and surprisingly resilient. Apparently, they consume ethanol as a recreational drug, a substance that's lethal to most species." "They drink poison for fun?" Miralos whispered in horror. "It gets worse," Dexmore continued reading. "They deliberately expose themselves to radiation from their star to change their skin color. They practice something called extreme sports, where they intentionally put themselves in life-threatening situations for entertainment. And they have a concept called adrenaline junkies, beings who are addicted to their own fear hormones." Lieutenant Crossaval, the security officer, looked up from his weapons console. "Sir, I've been reviewing their technology. These humans have been in space for less than 200 years. But their weapons technology is concerning." "How concerning?" Zeftos asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Their primary military vessels are armed with kinetic kill weapons that fire metal slugs at significant fractions of light speed. They also deploy something called nuclear weapons, devices that replicate stellar fusion reactions on a planetary surface. The bridge crew exchanged horrified glances. Most civilized species used energy dampeners and shield disruptors in warfare. The idea of actually trying to destroy your enemy was considered barbaric. "They're coming to help us," Zeftos said weakly. "Right?" Before anyone could answer, the communication system crackled to life. A new voice came through, deep, rough, and speaking in the common galactic tongue with a strange accent. "Kethvar Station. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Terran's Wrath. We received your distress call and are en route to assist. Please transmit all available data on hostile forces." Zeftos activated the response channel with a trembling hand. "Captain Chen, this is Commander Zeftos. We appreciate your response, but I must warn you. The attacking force consists of over 40 Vrextai dreadnoughts. They are considered among the most dangerous military forces in this sector." There was a pause. Then, to everyone's shock, they heard what sounded like laughter. "Commander, we're familiar with the Vrextai. Don't worry about the numbers. Are there any civilians who need evacuation?" Zeftos looked around his bridge in amazement. This human was talking about facing 40 dreadnoughts like it was a minor inconvenience. "Captain, there are 12,000 researchers and support staff on this station. Our ships aren't equipped for combat." "Understood. We'll handle the Vrextai. You focus on protecting your people. UES Terran's Wrath out." The communication ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Sir," Miralos said quietly, "I've been doing more research on human military history. In their past, they fought wars that lasted for years and involved their entire planetary population. They've developed tactics for fighting in environments that would kill most species instantly." Dexmore pulled up more files. "Look at this, Commander. They have a military doctrine called total warfare. The concept involves using every available resource to achieve victory, regardless of cost. They also," Krossoval added, his voice barely a whisper, "have something in their database called the Geneva Convention, apparently a list of things they're not allowed to do to enemies because they're too horrible." Zeftos sat down heavily in his command chair. "We called for help, and we may have doomed ourselves." "Sir," Miralos interrupted, "I'm detecting multiple hyperspace signatures. The Vrextai fleet is dropping out of FTL." The main screen lit up with sensor data. 40 massive ships appeared in space around the station, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. The Vrextai were known for their cruelty, but seeing their fleet in person was terrifying. A new communication came through, this one from the Vrextai war leader Thraknov. His image appeared on screen, a massive insectoid creature with razor-sharp mandibles and 6 burning red eyes. "Insignificant creatures," Thraknov hissed. "You have something that belongs to us. Surrender the artifact and we will make your deaths quick." "War leader," Zeftos replied, trying to keep his voice steady, "we are willing to negotiate." "There will be no negotiation," Thraknov roared. "You have 10 of your time units to surrender, or we will take the artifact from your corpses." The transmission ended. Zeftos looked at his crew, seeing his own fear reflected in their faces. "Sir," Miralos said suddenly, "I'm detecting another hyperspace signature. It's different." "The humans?" "I think so, sir. But there's something strange about their approach vector. They're coming in fast, much faster than normal safe parameters would allow." Krossoval frowned at his sensors. "Commander, whatever they're doing, it's creating massive gravimetric distortions. It's like they're ripping a hole in space-time itself." The main screen flickered, then showed a sight none of them had ever seen before. A ship emerged from hyperspace, not with the usual gentle translation most vessels used, but in a violent burst of energy that sent shock waves through nearby space. The ship was unlike anything in their database. Where most vessels were sleek and elegant, this one looked like it had been built for war. Its hull was dark gray, covered in armor plating and weapon emplacements. Strange markings were painted on its sides, symbols that looked both primitive and threatening. "My stars," Dexmore whispered. "It's massive. That ship is 3 times the size of a Vrextai dreadnought." "Sir," Miralos said, her voice shaking, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from their weapon systems. Whatever they're carrying, it's beyond our ability to analyze." A new communication came through, and Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge again. "HFY Station, this is Terran's Wrath. We've arrived a bit early, beginning combat operations in 30 seconds. All station personnel should take cover." "Captain," Zeftos replied urgently, "you're facing 40 dreadnoughts. You need to wait for reinforcements." Another laugh came through the speaker. "Commander, we are the reinforcements. Terran's Wrath out." On the screen, they watched as the human ship moved toward the Vrextai fleet. It wasn't the careful, strategic approach most civilized species used in space combat. Instead, the ship accelerated directly toward the enemy formation at a speed that should have torn it apart. The Vrextai fleet, apparently as surprised as everyone else, began firing. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes lit up space as they focused their attack on the single human vessel. Then something impossible happened. The human ship didn't try to dodge or use defensive shields. Instead, it flew straight through the weapons' fire as if it was nothing more than a light show. Where the enemy weapons hit, the human ship's armor glowed, but held. "How are they doing that?" Crossoval gasped. "No ship can withstand that much concentrated firepower." His question was answered when the human ship opened fire. What came from their weapons wasn't energy beams or plasma charges. Instead, streams of solid metal projectiles erupted from the ship at incredible speeds. Where they hit the Vrextai vessels, armor didn't just fail, it was completely vaporized. In less than 60 seconds, 3 Vrextai dreadnoughts were nothing but expanding clouds of debris. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the human ship continued its assault, moving through the enemy formation like a predator among prey. The Vrextai, who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, were being destroyed by a single ship from a species no one had heard of 6 months ago. "Commander," Miralos whispered, "what have we done?" War leader Thraknov stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 3 of his dreadnoughts were gone. Not damaged, not disabled, completely destroyed. In his 40 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like it. "What is that ship?" he demanded of his weapons officer. "Unknown design, war leader. The species calls themselves humans. They claim to be from a planet called Earth." Thraknov's mandibles clicked in irritation. "I don't care what they call themselves. How did one ship destroy 3 of our dreadnoughts?" Before the weapons officer could answer, another barrage of metal slugs tore through space. This time they struck the VWS Bone Crusher, one of their newest vessels. The projectiles punched through the ship's armor like it was made of paper, and the dreadnought split in half, its core going critical in a brilliant explosion. "All ships, focus fire on that single target," Thraknov roared. "Destroy it now!" The remaining 36 Vrextai ships turned their weapons on the human vessel. The concentrated firepower would have been enough to crack a moon, but the human ship continued its relentless advance. Its armor glowed white-hot under the assault, but it didn't slow down. On the HFY station, Commander Zeftos watched the battle with a mixture of awe and terror. The human ship was doing the impossible, taking hits that would vaporize any known vessel and continuing to fight. "Sir," Dexmore said, his voice filled with scientific fascination despite the circumstances, "their armor isn't deflecting the energy. It's absorbing it somehow. Look at these readings." Zeftos looked at the science officer's display. "What am I seeing?" "The human ship is converting the incoming energy into something else. I think I think they're using it to power their weapons. As if to prove his point, the human ship's guns fired again. This time, the projectiles glowed with an inner light, moving even faster than before. They struck two more Vrextai ships simultaneously, and both vessels simply ceased to exist. Captain Chen's voice came over the communication channel again, but this time it was broadcast to the entire Vrextai fleet. Attention! Vrextai vessels. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Terran's Wrath. You have threatened peaceful researchers under the protection of the Terran Defense Corps. You have 60 seconds to withdraw from this system, or we will consider you hostile combatants. War Leader Thraknov activated his own broadcast. Human, you face the might of the Vrextai Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your single ship cannot stand against our fleet. There was a pause. Then Chen's voice returned, and there was something in her tone that made Zeftos's blood run cold. War Leader, you've made two mistakes. First, you assume this is a single-ship engagement. Second, you assume we're here to negotiate. The tactical display around the station suddenly lit up with new contacts. More human ships were dropping out of hyperspace, not the gentle emergence most species used, but the same violent tears in space-time they had seen before. Zeftos counted them with growing horror. 24 additional ships. They brought a full fleet. But these ships were different from the Terran's Wrath. They were smaller, sleeker, and they moved with a predatory grace that was terrifying to watch. As soon as they emerged from hyperspace, they began attacking the Vrextai fleet from multiple directions. Dexmore, Zeftos called. What kind of tactics are they using? The science officer worked frantically at his console. Commander, this is unlike anything in our database. Most civilized warfare involves formal engagement patterns, shield dueling, and surrender protocols. The humans are using something called pack hunting tactics. Pack hunting? They're working together like predators. Some ships draw fire while others attack from blind spots. They're not trying to disable the enemy ships. They're trying to kill them as efficiently as possible. On the main screen, they watched as the human fleet tore through the Vrextai formation. The smaller human ships moved impossibly fast, dodging between the massive dreadnoughts and striking at weak points with surgical precision. Meanwhile, the larger ships like Terran's Wrath continued their frontal assault, drawing fire and dealing devastating damage in return. Lieutenant Miralos looked up from her station, her face pale. Sir, I've been monitoring their communications. The humans are coordinating their attack in real time, but they're not using standard tactical protocols. What do you mean? They're talking to each other like friends, joking, encouraging each other, making casual conversation while they destroy ships. Listen to this. She activated the communication monitor, and the bridge crew heard fragments of human chatter. Nice shot, Martinez. You got him right in the reactor core. Thanks, Sarah. Hey, Rodriguez, you've got 3 bogeys on your 6. I see them. Wang, can you give me some cover fire? On it. These Vrextai guys really don't learn, do they? Apparently not. Chen, want to show them what a real broadside looks like? My pleasure. The casual, almost cheerful tone was horrifying. These humans were treating the destruction of an entire fleet like some kind of game. War Leader Thraknov was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. Half his fleet was gone, and the humans showed no signs of slowing down. Worse, his remaining ships couldn't even score meaningful hits on the human vessels. How are they so fast? He demanded. War Leader, his tactical officer replied. Our computers can't track their movement patterns. They're not following any recognized flight protocols. It's like they're improvising every maneuver. That was exactly what they were doing, Zeftos realized as he watched the battle. Every civilized species used computer-controlled flight systems for space combat. It was too dangerous and complex for biological minds to handle. But the humans seemed to be piloting their ships manually, relying on intuition and reflexes that no computer could match. Another group of Vrextai ships exploded under human fire. The war leader's fleet was down to 20 vessels, and they were being systematically destroyed. "War leader," his communications officer called out. "We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander." Captain Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She was a relatively small creature compared to the Vrextai, with short dark hair and brown eyes that seemed to burn with an inner fire. But what struck Thraknov most was her expression. She looked calm, almost bored. "War Leader Thraknov," she said, "I'll give you one more chance to withdraw your forces. Leave this system now and we'll let you go." "Impossible," Thraknov roared. "The Vrextai do not retreat." Chen shrugged. "Your choice. All units, weapons free, no survivors." The transmission ended, and the human attack intensified. But now they were using different weapons, ones that Zeftos didn't recognize from the database. "Sir," Krossoval said, his voice shaking, "they've deployed some kind of guided missiles, but these aren't normal warheads." "What do you mean?" "The explosions aren't following normal physics. When they hit, they're creating localized gravity wells that collapse the target ships from the inside out." Zeftos watched in fascination and horror as Vrextai dreadnoughts were crushed like paper cups by invisible forces. "What kind of technology is that?" "I don't know, sir. According to our understanding of physics, it shouldn't be possible." Dexmore looked up from his station. "Commander, I've been analyzing the human ship designs. Their technology isn't more advanced than ours. It's completely different. They're using principles we never thought to apply to warfare." "Such as?" "They've weaponized gravity, magnetism, and nuclear fusion. Their armor isn't energy shields. It's layers of different materials designed to absorb and redirect kinetic and thermal energy. And their computers aren't running the ships. The humans are." "That's insane," Miralos whispered. "Biological reaction times aren't fast enough for space combat." "Unless," Dexmore said quietly, "they've been selectively bred for warfare." The implication hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Most civilized species had evolved beyond violence. But what if there was a species that had never stopped fighting? What if they had spent their entire evolutionary history getting better at killing? On the tactical display, the last of the Vrextai ships exploded under human fire. War leader Thraknov's dreadnought was the only vessel left, and it was surrounded by the human fleet. Captain Chen's voice came over the communication system again. "War leader, your fleet is destroyed. Surrender now, and we'll take you prisoner, according to the Galactic Conventions." Thraknov activated his final weapon, a planet-killer missile designed to crack worlds. If he was going to die, he would take the human ship with him. "Die with me, human!" The missile launched, its warhead containing enough explosive power to shatter a moon. But instead of trying to dodge or shoot it down, the human ship did something unthinkable. Captain Chen flew her ship directly into the missile's path. "What is she doing?" Zeftos gasped. The missile struck Terran's Wrath head-on. The explosion lit up space like a new star, and when the light faded, everyone expected to see debris. Instead, they saw the human ship, its armor glowing but intact, continuing its approach toward the Vrextai dreadnought. "Impossible," Thraknov whispered. Chen's voice came through the communication system one last time. "War leader, you just fired a planet-killer weapon at a civilian research station. In human terms, that makes you a war criminal." The human ship's main guns fired a single salvo. The projectiles struck Thraknov's ship and tore through it like it was made of tissue paper. The war leader had just enough time to realize that he had encountered something far worse than he had ever imagined before his ship exploded around him. The battle was over. The human fleet regrouped around the HFY station, their ships barely showing damage despite facing a force that had terrorized the galaxy for decades. Captain Chen's face appeared on the station's main screen again. "Commander Zeftos, this is Captain Chen. The hostile fleet has been eliminated. Are there any casualties among your people?" Zeftos found his voice with difficulty. No, Captain. Thanks to you, everyone is safe. Chen nodded. Good. We'll maintain a patrol around your station for the next few days to make sure no other Vrex-Tai forces show up. Is there anything else you need? Captain, Zeftos said hesitantly, may I ask, how did you do that? How did your ships survive weapons that should have destroyed them? Chen's expression grew serious. Commander, where we come from, everything is trying to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the ground itself. We've had to get very good at surviving impossible situations. Your planet is truly that dangerous? Earth has produced over 1 billion different species, Commander. Most of them are predators. Humans survive by becoming the most effective predators of all. The implications of her words hit Zeftos like a physical blow. They hadn't called for help from a civilized species. They had summoned apex predators from a world where only the strongest, smartest, and most ruthless creatures survived. Captain, he said quietly, what happens now? Chen smiled, and for the first time, Zeftos noticed that human teeth were pointed, the teeth of a carnivore. Now, Commander, we make sure everyone knows that peaceful researchers are under human protection. The galaxy just learned that there are consequences for threatening innocent people. As the human fleet settled into patrol formation around the station, Zeftos realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted forever. Humanity had announced their presence, and they had done it in the most terrifying way possible, by completely destroying one of the most feared military forces in known space. The Vrex-Tai Empire had been built on fear and intimidation. In less than an hour, the humans had shown that there was something far more dangerous in the galaxy than the Vrex-Tai could ever be. Deathworlders had come to the stars, and they were protecting the innocent. 3 weeks after the Battle of Kethvar, as historians would later call it, the galaxy was a very different place. Ambassador Velthara of the Galactic Council adjusted her ceremonial robes nervously as she prepared for the most important diplomatic meeting in recorded history. The council chamber on Nexus Prime had been hastily reconfigured to accommodate the human delegation. Standard gravity had been increased by 30%. Atmospheric pressure raised to dangerous levels, and the temperature set to what most species considered uncomfortably warm. These were the baseline environmental conditions that humans considered normal. Are you certain this is necessary? Asked Counselor Zendak, his breathing apparatus working overtime in the thick atmosphere. The humans insisted, Velthara replied. They said they wanted us to understand what they consider a comfortable environment. The chamber doors opened, and the human delegation entered. At their head walked Admiral Marcus Thompson, a tall man with gray hair and scars that spoke of personal combat experience. Behind him came Captain Sarah Chen, the woman who had single-handedly destroyed the Vrex-Tai fleet. What struck the council members most was how the humans moved. Where every civilized species had evolved graceful, efficient movements, the humans moved like predators, alert, powerful, ready to spring into action at any moment. Honorable counselors, Admiral Thompson said, his voice carrying easily through the chamber without amplification. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Velthara activated the translation matrix and began the formal greeting. Admiral Thompson, we welcome humanity to the Galactic Council. We understand you wish to discuss membership terms. Thompson nodded. We do. But first I think we need to address the elephant in the room. Elephant? Velthara looked confused. Her translation software had no reference for the term. Captain Chen stepped forward. He means the obvious problem that everyone's thinking about but not saying. You're all afraid of us. The council chamber fell silent. In 3,000 years of galactic diplomacy, no species had ever been so direct. Counselor Drachmos of the Hegemony found his voice first. Captain Chen, we are concerned about humanity's aggressive tendencies. The destruction of the Vrextai fleet, while impressive, has raised questions about human military capabilities. 40 dreadnoughts destroyed in under an hour, added Counselor Ythmora. With minimal casualties on your side, such efficiency in warfare is unprecedented. Admiral Thompson leaned forward. Counselors, let me be clear about something. What you witnessed at HFY was not us showing off our military might. That was us responding to a distress call with the closest available ships. The implications of his words sent a chill through the chamber. If that devastating display had been a casual response, what was humanity capable of when they were actually trying? Admiral, Velthera said carefully, could you help us understand human intentions in this galaxy? Many species are concerned about your expansion plans. Thompson activated a holographic display that showed human territory. It was surprisingly small, just a handful of systems around Earth. We don't want to conquer anyone, he said. We don't want your resources, your planets, or your trade routes. We want something very simple. Which is? Asked Counselor Zendak. Captain Chen answered, we want to be left alone to explore and research. And we want to make sure that bullies like the Vrextai don't hurt peaceful people. Counselor Drachmos shifted uncomfortably. Captain, the Vrextai were a recognized government. They had territorial rights and they were slavers and murderers, Chen interrupted, her voice cold. They built their empire by conquering peaceful worlds and killing anyone who resisted. We don't recognize the territorial rights of predators. But who decides what constitutes acceptable behavior? Asked Counselor Ythmora. The galaxy has managed conflicts through negotiation and compromise for millennia. Admiral Thompson stood up, his height impressive even in the large chamber. Counselor, let me share some human history with you. On our world, we tried negotiation and compromise with predators many times. We learned that some creatures only understand strength. He activated another display showing images from Earth's past. These are historical records from our world. Humanity has faced extinction dozens of times. We survived by becoming very good at identifying threats and eliminating them before they could destroy us. The images showed massive predators, natural disasters, and primitive human civilizations struggling to survive. But they also showed something else, humans working together, protecting their young, and fighting impossible odds with determination and creativity. You see, Thompson continued, humans evolved in an environment where cooperation meant survival and weakness meant death. We learned to protect our families, our friends, and eventually our entire species. When we encountered the Kethnan research station under attack, they became part of our extended family. Velthara studied the historical data with growing amazement. Admiral, your species fought wars against the planet itself? Daily, Captain Chen replied. On Earth, the weather can kill you, the animals hunt you, the plants poison you, and the ground sometimes opens up and swallows entire cities. We've been dealing with existential threats since we could walk upright. Counselor Zendak looked at his colleagues nervously. This explains much about human military capabilities. But it raises another question. How do we know humanity won't become a threat to peaceful species? Thompson's expression grew serious. Because, Counselor, we've been the peaceful species under threat. We know what it feels like to face extinction. We know what it means to call for help and have no one answer. The chamber fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. The Kethnan researchers sent out a distress call, Chen continued. 3 species received it. 2 refused to help because it was too dangerous or inconvenient. We traveled 17 hours through space because someone needed help, and we had the ability to provide it. Admiral Thompson reactivated the holographic display. Counselors, let me show you what we're proposing. The display now showed trade routes, research stations, and peaceful colonies throughout the galaxy. Humanity offers our protection to any peaceful species that requests it. We don't want payment, territory, or political control. We want to make sure that what happened to us on Earth, the constant threat of extinction, doesn't happen to anyone else. And if a species refuses your protection? Asked Counselor Drachmos suspiciously. Then they refuse it, Thompson replied simply. We're not going to force anyone to accept our help. What about species that pose a threat to others? Velthara asked. Captain Chen's expression hardened. They get one warning. After that, we treat them the same way we treated the Vrextai. The threat was delivered so casually that it was even more terrifying. These humans weren't bluffing or posturing. They were simply stating facts. Counselor Yithmora leaned forward. Captain, the Vrextai Empire controlled over 200 systems. What happens to those systems now? They're free, Chen replied. Our ships are currently helping former Vrextai slave worlds establish their own governments. We've also eliminated the remaining Vrextai military forces. All of them? Zendak asked in shock. All of them, Thompson confirmed. The Vrextai Empire officially ceased to exist 6 days ago when our forces captured their homeworld. The casual mention of conquering an entire interstellar empire sent waves of terror through the council chamber. The Vrextai had been one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, and the humans had eliminated them as a follow-up action to a single battle. How many ships do you have? Velthara asked weakly. Admiral Thompson smiled, and like Captain Chen before him, his teeth reminded everyone that humans were carnivores. Enough. The evasive answer was somehow more frightening than any specific number would have been. Counselors, Thompson continued, humanity seeks membership in the Galactic Council not because we need your approval, but because we believe cooperation is better than isolation. We want to share our knowledge, learn from your cultures, and build a safer galaxy for everyone. And if the Council denies your membership? Asked Drachmos. Thompson shrugged. Then we'll continue protecting peaceful species and eliminating threats whether we're Council members or not. Your approval would be nice, but it's not necessary. The implications were clear. Humanity was offering to join the galactic community as partners, but they would pursue their goals either way. Captain Chen stepped forward again. Counselors, I want to share something with you. When we received the distress call from Kethvar, our fleet was conducting training exercises. Do you know what kind of training? The council members waited nervously for her answer. Disaster relief, she said. We were practicing how to evacuate civilian populations from planets hit by supervolcanic eruptions. Every human military unit spends 60% of their time training for humanitarian missions. She paused to let that sink in before continuing. The ships that destroyed the Vrextai fleet are primarily equipped for search and rescue operations, medical assistance, and disaster relief. The weapons we used were our secondary systems. Velthara felt her breathing apparatus struggle as she processed this information. Captain, are you saying that your rescue ships destroyed an entire military fleet? Yes, Chen replied matter-of-factly. Our dedicated military vessels were dealing with a more serious threat in another sector. What could be more serious than 40 Vrextai dreadnoughts? Asked Zendak. Admiral Thompson activated another display. A rogue black hole was threatening to destroy an inhabited system. Our heavy cruisers were working with the local population to evacuate 12 billion people to safety. You can move black holes? Yithmora whispered in awe. We can't move them, Thompson clarified, but we can redirect them. It took 3 days, and most of our Pacific fleet, but we managed to alter its trajectory enough to save the system. The casual mention of manipulating stellar phenomena as a routine military operation left the council speechless. Counselors, Admiral Thompson said, his tone becoming formal again, Humanity requests membership in the Galactic Council under the following terms. We will respect the sovereignty of all peaceful species. We will not interfere in internal politics or territorial disputes between Council members. We will share our defensive technologies with any species that requests them. And in return? Velthara asked. Nothing, Captain Chen replied. We don't want anything in return. Every species wants something, Drachmos insisted. What is humanity's real agenda? Thompson's expression grew sad. Counselor, humanity's agenda is very simple. We spent our entire evolutionary history watching good people die because they couldn't protect themselves. We developed the ability to protect people, and now we want to use it. We don't want to rule the galaxy, Chen added. We don't want tribute or worship or fear. We just want to make sure that when someone sends out a distress call, they get answered. The council chamber fell silent as the members contemplated this unprecedented offer. Never before had a species with such overwhelming military superiority asked for so little in return for their protection. Counselors, Admiral Thompson said finally, we know our arrival has been disruptive. We know many species are afraid of us. But I want you to remember this. 3 weeks ago, the Kethnan researchers were facing extinction, and no one was coming to help them. Today, they're alive and continuing their work because humanity answered their call. He paused, looking around the chamber at each council member. We can't promise that we're not dangerous. We are. But we can promise that we're only dangerous to those who threaten innocent people. The choice of how to respond to our presence is yours. Captain Chen nodded in agreement. The Vrextai chose to threaten peaceful researchers. They learned what happens to predators who prey on the innocent. The choice of how this galaxy handles threats to peaceful people is up to you. With that, the human delegation stood and walked out of the chamber, leaving the council to contemplate a new reality. The galaxy now contained a species that could destroy entire interstellar empires as a secondary objective, but chose to spend their time rescuing people from natural disasters. The vote for humanity's membership in the Galactic Council was unanimous, but more importantly, the galaxy had learned a new lesson. There were creatures out there far more dangerous than any predator or conqueror. There were protectors, beings who would cross the galaxy to answer a call for help, and who would destroy anyone who threatened the innocent. The Deathworlders had come to the stars, and the universe would never be the same.